All right, good morning, guys. Home. I'm about to take this van to Ford. Wanted to show you guys something. When I was under the hood, looking at the coolant issue, so I was looking around. This is where the coolant level is at. Screen went blank on this, so I wasn't sure if something was wrong or what. Using a GoPro 8, and I have no idea how to use it really, so bear with me. But anyhow, I was saying, I was under the hood seeing those zip ties, and I'm like, the fuck is zip ties doing in my van? It's like, now I'm also noticing, I don't know if there's supposed to be a mounting bolt there. Got one here. Supposed to be one there. But I seen those zip ties. I said, no way, out of the factory. Haven't had a cut rate mechanic in here. So what they did is these mounting bolts to the ignition coils have been known to have the sleeve of the thread come out of the valve cover, because I had it happen once already. So obviously it wasn't something that was already pre-existing, or they would have came and charged me for this valve cover, which is labor and everything. Ended up costing me like 800 bucks last time. So I guess he decided to get away with it and put a couple zip ties in there to hold it. Now, mind you, it's not a big deal. These things don't really go anywhere. It's just a little bit of stability. You got boots down there that's going from the plug to the coil, and these are pretty solid. It'd take a lot to get it to move, but you pay the money you do to take it to a mechanic, to a Ford dealership, you expect to come out of there with the right shit, not some zip ties all up in your shit. So I am not happy about that. So I am about to go up there and see what they have to say about all this shit, because I'm not happy. Very, very much not happy. And I appreciate people giving me suggestions on what's going on with this thing. Well, the worst case is that some of the things are leading to it being a head gasket. I just find it hard to believe it'd be a head gasket with the timing of when I did the flush, but hey, it could be. Hopefully not. It's a $4,400 job, so hopefully not. If so, we'll get it taken care of, but we're gonna get this to Ford and see if we can get something figured out with it. So I'll holler at you guys. Alright guys, so I am at home, and I got home on Friday. Today's Tuesday. Had the issue with the van running hot, so I came in. I delivered in Indiana, so I was a couple hundred miles from the house, so just went ahead and come home to get that taken care of before I damage anything badly. So I dropped it off on Saturday, but they didn't get it into the bay until yesterday afternoon. No real progress at the moment. They said they got 2 codes off of it. One was reading a head exceeding temperature, and I can't remember what the other one was offhand. They didn't have the code numbers for me, so as soon as I get those, I'll give them to you guys. they had started what they called started a case with Ford because they can't figure out what the issue is, because they've had it in there once before due to this issue. And so now they take those codes and they send them into Ford, and then they wait to hear back from Ford on how to approach the issue. So that's currently where I'm at, waiting for them to hear from Ford. A little bit, I looked into that. When I Googled that for Ford, the code number comes up as P1299, I believe, which all seems to point towards a sensor being jacked up on that, temperature sensor. There's also the possibility that it's a thermostat. I mean, and there's always still the likelihood of a head gasket. Now, they said they did a pressure check on everything. No coolant's being lost, no coolant's leaking anywhere. The coolant level's staying the same. They've pressure tested it, back tested it, and they're saying everything seems good on that front. So they've got those codes, sent the codes into Ford, and now they're going to wait to hear from Ford on how they go about. So if you haven't noticed, I'm in a different van. This is this was the second van I bought. It's a 2011 Ford E350 Super Duty XLT. It's got the 5.4 in it. These things are just workhorses. It's been through hell and back. The driver I had in it just beat it to shit. And so yeah, it looks like shit at the moment. Runs well. Had to have the transmission replaced in it, well, rebuilt, because reverse had went out on it at 708,000. I currently have 709,603. That check engine light you see is a catalytic. That check engine light you see is a catalytic converter code. At first it was O2 sensors. It wasn't reading the catalytic converter. Replaced the O2 sensors. Now it's reading the catalytic converter. So I've got to get that taken care of still. And as you've seen, that gas cap issue, put a new gas cap on. That's not taking care of it. So there's some kind of leak somewhere. So I got to try and find the leak in the system, because I can't pass E-check without it. Unfortunately, I live in one of the few counties that still require an E-check. So the plan is, I actually got this thing running, got it insured, and I have a driver part-time running it, trying to see what I can build off of that. He's only done one run, but as I said, that's what I anticipated. He's just part-time. It's going to be slow rolling with this thing at first. Try to generate some steady income off of this. It's paid for. It's sitting there. It was sitting there for about a year before I decided to start using it again. So that's where I'm at with that, trying to take care of that. It's not signed on with any carrier. It's just kind of going through some load boards. All right, enough about that. One of the reasons I wanted to get on here is that lately, which I've gotten a question lately more than I think I've ever gotten it before, which is kind of strange. I don't know if it's just because of the economy and there's more people searching for a way to earn money. I'm not sure. But people, the question being, for somebody new to expediting, don't know nothing about it, how do you go about getting into expediting? Now, there's a couple ways I want to reply to that. There's the I want to be helpful to you way, and then there's the kind of being an asshole answer. The asshole answer is, if you're asking that question, you definitely shouldn't come out here. That's the quick and short asshole answer to that. And that question does aggravate some people, and the reason being is because a question like that, it seems more like you want your hand held and walked along, rather than learn it, understand it, and then take the steps. But at the same time, now I say that being an asshole from the asshole perspective, but some people have offered to pay to have, you know, the mentor service or whatever you'd like to call it. You know, they've offered to pay to help them along, and that's something I've thought about, but I struggle with it because I don't know. I mean, I want to make everything I can, you know, off of doing what I do if it's there, but at the same time, I don't want to feel like I'm taking advantage of anybody or selling out, so to speak. So that's a difficult thing right there. I want to help people, and I only have so much time, so I can't help everybody. I can't walk everybody along. I can't help everybody understand all the ins and outs of expediting. So that's where I lean towards, you know, possibly entertaining the idea of taking money to mentor somebody. But again, that's where I'm at. I'm struggling with that. But anyhow, getting off track with everything, I just wanted to mention that because that's always on my mind. But the helpful answer is, if you're new to expediting or you're new to the idea of expediting, the first step obviously is to continue to research. I don't care if it were me or somebody else. Don't allow somebody to just take you by your hand and walk you through the steps, because if you don't understand the steps and you know, as far as why you're taking these steps or what these steps mean, you're going to just fail, or you're going to be another part of the problem out here. Because one of the big issues out here, obviously the main issue is oversaturation. There's more units than there is freight, okay? So the other part of that is that the oversaturation is kind of happening because people don't understand what they're getting into. People think, oh, he drives for a living, he drives across country, and he gets paid? Holy shit, that's wonderful. But that's not what this is. So thinking that this is just an easy job, an easy way to get paid, could not be further from the truth, okay? It takes a lot to be able to do this job and do it well and do it successfully to where you're earning and not losing. Now, one of the things that people don't understand when they come out is that they believe that since they got a job driving, that it's like getting a job at a factory or at a grocery store or at a restaurant. You've got set hours. When you show up to your place of employment, you know that you're getting paid for your time there. That's not the case in expediting or any driving over the road job, for that fact, where you're being paid a rate per mile. So you could be out here on the road for a week, away from home, living off of your own dime, and not get a single run, and you haven't made a freaking dime. And people don't understand that. They think, well, I'm away from home, I am currently doing my job description, so I have to be getting money. It has to be worth it. They don't understand the correlation between getting the miles, what the rate is per mile, how many loads you're taking, how many miles you're doing, how much money you're having taken out by, whether it be a fleet owner, the carrier, or money you're just blowing. They're not understanding how that all comes together to equal out profiting or losing. And as I said, that misconception, the fact that you think that just because you're at work, basically, that you should be earning money and it should be turning a profit. That's not the case in expediting. So one of the first things that people need to understand is rate per mile. You need to understand what a good rate per mile is, because a lot of drivers, well, potential drivers, are calling recruiters at certain carriers and being told, oh yeah, and we got an opening for you, we got a fleet owner, yeah, we get 2,000 miles a week on average, yeah, you should make anywhere from, you know, around $800, $900 to $1,000. Well, one, you'll understand out of the money they're telling you that that's just gross. You haven't taken any expenses out of that. You're not paying attention to what the rate per mile is to make sure that the mileage you're doing plus the rate per mile is going to generate an income. Do the math. Math, 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 math. Why do so many people ignore simple math? I don't understand that shit. Like, if you can't sit and do the math, you should definitely not be doing a job to where you're an independent contractor. If you can't take the time to do your simple calculations as far as expenses to gross income and all of that stuff, do not be an independent contractor. Do not be a self-employed person whatsoever. You know, there's some people that they just want to work, and they're just, they're just by sheer work, hard work, they're making ends meet barely. And that shouldn't be happening. If you're having to do all that, you're in the wrong line of work, and you're not doing some things correctly. So to summarize that part, understand what you're getting yourself into. Understand that just because you're out on the road, you are not going to guaranteed make a profit. There are certain companies that will charge you an arm and a leg for your orientation, for your background check, for your drug screening, and you start off in the hole. And right off the bat, I've talked about the two carriers that are the worst at saturating this industry. One of those two charges roughly, I haven't verified, this is through drivers that I've talked with. Once I get a verification, I will certainly do a video on that. But there's a carrier, from what I'm understanding, is charging roughly $200 for a background check and roughly $200 for a drug screen. So that driver is already in the hole $400. Okay? Drivers don't pay attention to that enough. If they did, they wouldn't be going to that flipping carrier. They're just hearing, oh, you owe this, and we're just gonna make sure we take it out a little bit at a time. Well, you also get a ComData card that most of the drivers use, and you're getting charged like $5 per transaction. So now all the gas fill-ups and food you're getting, or whatever you're getting with that ComData card, that's adding up. So now you got paid, you only did a few hundred miles this week, and you're wondering why your check is only 30 bucks. Well, because you didn't pay attention to what they're telling you. You didn't take the time to talk to anybody. You just didn't take the time, period, to do the research. Which that kind of brings me back to one of the things you need to do when you're starting into this. Obviously, you want to find a carrier. You want to understand all the carriers that are out there. You want to understand how they work, what kind of rate they pay per mile, what kind of fees do they have. If you find a carrier you're interested in, you should by all means do everything you can possible to talk with drivers that are currently with that carrier, or even better yet, if you can find some that used to be, because you want obviously the ones that aren't there no more either had a problem with it or for whatever reason had to get off the road. But you get both sides of it, because people that are there, they may currently be there and be happy that they're there because that may fit them. So I highly suggest, if you find a carrier you start being interested in, if you ask that carrier for a few numbers of some drivers. Now, mind you, there's drivers that are going to give you the numbers to call. It's probably going to be drivers that are happy where they're at, and they're going to try to, they're going to tell you that they're extremely happy and everything. Now, you may get the drivers that understand, like, hey, I know that these are the bad aspects of this carrier that I'm with, but these are the good ones, and they give you the good and the bad. So that's what you got to do, is continue to do that research and dig once you have a carrier, picked out, or you have a handful of carriers picked out. Try to get as much information as you can on that. But again, it comes back to part of that understanding the carrier is the rate per mile. Not really going to get deep into that right now. Just the gist of it is, right now, where we should be is over $1 a mile. So obviously you shoot to be as close to that as possible. Now, where we are in actuality as an industry, the range is huge. I mean, people are running from 50 cents up to $1 and something a mile. But carriers in general, most carriers seem to be on average where they are is around probably 75 to 80 cents. That's probably about the norm for most carriers. So you need to understand that, and you need to do the math on that. You know, when you're talking to these drivers that have been with the carrier that you're interested in, you know, find out about how many miles they're getting. Then you can ask them, you know, if they're willing to tell you what they're averaging per rate, you know, per mile, what they're averaging rate per mile. Now, most people have no clue. Honestly, I am blown away by how many people do not know what their rate per mile is. Like, that's how we make our money, is our rate per mile. Like, some people get too caught up in how many miles did I drive. You know, oh, I drove 4,000 miles last week. Well, how much, you know, what was your rate per mile? I don't know. Well, what was your gross? They don't want to tell you, because now, you know, most drivers are feeling like, oh man, if I tell the gross, it may not be as good as they're doing or as good as somebody else, and they're embarrassed to say. Well, if you're embarrassed to say, you probably aren't in the right place. You're probably not doing it for a very good rate. But please, understand the rate per mile, how it equates with the miles you're getting. Understand your expenses. You know, maybe I should do a video on trying to break down some of these things individually, because I know this video is getting kind of long. But you know your expenses. If gas is coming out of your pocket, you get an idea what that van averages per mile to the gallon. You do the math. I mean, if you do 2,000 miles a week, the van gets 16 miles to the gallon. You do the 2,000 divided by the 16, that's how many gallons of fuel you'll need. Multiply that by the average per gallon price of fuel, and then you're going to get your estimated idea of how much you're going to spend on fuel. If you have any other fees, you add those fees together, so you get an idea, like, hey, I'm doing 2,000 miles, this is how much I'm probably going to end up making when it's all said and done. But to kind of back up a second to my point to where I was saying about the, you know, doing 4,000 miles, you know, doing 4,000 miles is, say, an average of 75 cents. Now, if you're somewhere, if you can find some place that'll get you to where you're averaging 90 cents a mile, you don't have to run as hard to make the same amount of money, and your profit margin is larger. So in the end, you're making better money by doing less miles at a better rate. You know, it's just simple math. Now, I understand some of us got to start someplace, because I did the same thing. I started off with the carrier that was cheap. The first couple years, the rates were pretty solid, stayed pretty close to the regular 80 cents, probably hovered above 80 cents a little bit. After the first couple years, started backing down, because we was taking in the regular freight lanes, being close to that 80 cents, but he concentrated on getting the long runs, because, you know why? Because drivers get baited by them long miles. They think the long miles means I'm making cheddar, getting a bigger chunk of money at one time, which you're getting bigger money at once, a bigger lump sum of money at once by doing a long run than you're doing multiple short runs that add up, that go up over weeks. And that's an illusion. That is an illusion to think, oh, I made $700 on this run. Well, you just did 2,000 freaking miles, so $700 ain't shit. But you're being, you know, like I said, there's an illusion of the chunk of money that makes you think, oh, I'm making money. And it's not the case. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. Hopefully I'm making a couple of points that you guys are able to understand and get and build off of. To summarize, it's basically, if you're new to the expediting, you don't know anything about expediting, obviously the first step is to continue your research. And included in that research should be researching the carriers. And I know one of the questions is, how do I find a carrier to run for? And to find a carrier to run for, you know, to be honest, there's carriers out there and companies out there to drive for that I don't even know about. There's just so many small little carriers or brokers that I don't know all of them. But to find them, and one of the places to go is Expeditors Online, and it's spelled O-R. Expeditors is spelled O-R instead of E-R, and then online.com. Go there, their page. They have a pretty good web page. I've said it before, I'm not a fan of theirs, but they are the best spot that has all the information in one spot, as far as that's easy to see, because you get on there and they usually have like a list of carriers just on the page itself, on the cover page. So that gives you a place to start. Other than that, get onto Facebook groups. Like I said, ours is Transportation Life, Wheels, Wings, Rudders. There's others, Expedite Nation, Real Expediters, Expediters on Time. There's several ones on there, and you get on there and you talk to drivers. You just ask them, who do they drive for? Some people won't want to tell you because they don't want you coming and stealing miles from them. That's the thing you're going to find out about this industry, is we are cutthroat as a motherfucker. So be forewarned. There's going to be a lot of people that want to help, but there's a lot more people that don't want you to succeed and don't want you to even come out into this industry. As I said, do the research, check out the Facebook pages, check out Expediters online. Squirrel, squirrel. Looking to see if it was an Expediter. Anyhow, and I've mentioned in a video before that the reason I do these videos, like, I do get frustrated with the amount of people that come out here, and I do get frustrated with some of the questions that get asked, but at the same time, I still believe, damn it, I got a phone call and I got sidetracked. Now I don't even remember where I was at with that. Oh, I know where I was at. I still believe that by educating drivers and helping them understand the business is beneficial to us all in this industry. I believe it hinders us more, these people that we ignore and that come out here and don't know shit. The more you inform people, the better off they're doing. And I've seen it. I've seen it at work. Like, there's people that's come out here that didn't know shit about the business, but you make them understand and not get screwed over by rates, and they stand strong. Some of these people stand stronger on what they're asking for rate-wise than some of us that have been out here forever. So it's all for the good, I believe. But anyhow, check out the carriers, check out the Facebook pages, understand your rate per mile, understand the expenses that you would incur out here, understand your contract, understand the carriers that you may sign up with, what they're asking of you, fees-wise, pay-wise, everything. Just research, research, research. That's where I'm at with that. And this video has ran extremely long, and I'm sorry. I may have rambled, but I am trying to be helpful to you guys. I hope I didn't come across like I'm being a jackass, because I want each and every one of you guys to succeed. That's 100%. I'm a competitive person, so if you come out here and you're doing well, you know, I want to do better than you, because that's just my competitive drive. So I don't give a shit that you're coming out here. I just give a shit that you're coming out here and you don't know shit, and you're running shit cheap as hell, and you're running just for any Tom, Dick, and Harry that's running illegal, and that pisses me off. Other than that, you're coming out here legit, you understand how it should be, and you're just trying to earn a living, and you're doing it the right way. I'm for it, man. I'm for the competition, 100%. So let me jump off here, man. Old lady just called. I'm supposed to be at Walmart picking up the groceries. That's where I'm going. I'll talk at you later. Bye.